Be anxious for nothing. Most of us have heard this verse used as a weapon against our anxiety. Paul wasn't telling you to stop feeling, he was giving you a 4-step protocol. And once you see what he actually wrote, it changes everything. Here's the problem. For most of our lives, Philippians 4 verse 6 has been quoted at us like a command to just stop being anxious. Be anxious for nothing. Translation: stop feeling anxious. Stop worrying. Just have more faith. Just pray more. And if you can't, well, the implication is clear. You're not spiritual enough. You're not trusting God enough. You're failing the verse. If you've ever felt condemned by Philippians 4 verse 6, like the verse that was supposed to comfort you has become the verse that condemns you, I need you to hear this clearly. You have been misreading it. Not because you're not smart enough, but because the way it's been taught to you has stripped it of its actual power. Paul was not giving a command to suppress emotion. He was not saying anxiety is a sin. He was not saying just stop it. He was giving a practical 4-step protocol for what to do when anxiety shows up. And the early church would have heard it that way. We've turned it into a slogan. They heard it as a method. In the next 10 minutes, I'm going to walk you through what Paul actually wrote in the original Greek, in the original context, with the 4 steps he gave us, and I'm going to show you why this verse, read correctly, is one of the most compassionate and most psychologically sophisticated things ever written about anxiety. By the end, you'll never read it the same way again, and the condemnation is going to lift. Step 1. Be anxious for nothing. Let's start with the most misunderstood phrase in the verse. The Greek word translated be anxious is merimnao. It comes from merizo, which means to divide or to pull apart. Literally, the word means to have a mind that is pulled in different directions. That's the picture. Not you are sinning by feeling fear, but your mind is being pulled apart by something, and here's what to do about it. Now, the grammar matters. Paul uses a present imperative here, which in Greek means stop an action that is already in progress. It's not never start being anxious. It's stop letting your mind be pulled apart. The assumption is that anxiety is already happening. Paul is not commanding the absence of feeling. He's addressing someone who is already anxious and giving them a way through. Here's why this matters. The way we've quoted this verse has made anxiety itself a sin. But Paul is not treating anxiety as a sin to be confessed. He's treating it as a signal to be responded to. Anxiety is the indicator light on the dashboard. You don't smash the indicator light. You don't condemn yourself for the light being on. You respond to what the light is telling you. And that's what the rest of the verse is about. So when Paul says be anxious for nothing, he's not saying if you feel anxious, you're failing. He's saying when anxiety shows up, and it will, don't let it pull your mind apart, unchecked. Here's what to do instead. That's the setup. The next 3 steps are the response. Step 2, but in everything by prayer and supplication. Notice the word but. That's a pivot. Paul is saying, instead of letting the anxiety pull your mind apart, redirect it, turn it into prayer. Now, prayer and supplication are not the same word in Greek, and the difference matters. Prayer, prosouche, is the general word for coming before God. It's the orientation of the heart toward the Father. Supplication desis is a specific, urgent petition. It's the cry. It's God. I need this specific thing right now. Paul is saying, when anxiety hits, don't just sit in it. Don't just stew in it. Don't just ruminate. Turn the anxiety itself into prayer. The worry about your kid, make it a petition. The fear about the diagnosis, make it a supplication. The dread about the conversation, turn it into a cry. The anxiety is not wasted. It becomes fuel for the prayer. Here's the psychological insight Paul is giving us. 2,000 years before modern psychology caught up, anxiety thrives in the loop. It feeds on rumination, the same thought going around and around in your head with no exit. Prayer breaks the loop. Prayer gives the thought a destination. It moves the worry from your head to the throne room. It changes the trajectory of the thought from circular to vertical. Modern psychology calls this cognitive offloading, taking a thought that's stuck in your head and externalizing it, writing it down, speaking it out. Paul is telling us to offload it to God, not because he doesn't know, but because the act of offloading breaks the loop. That's step 2. Step 3, and this is the one almost everyone skips, with thanksgiving. 2 words, easily missed, but they may be the most powerful part of the verse. Step 3. Paul is saying, when you bring your anxiety to God, don't just bring the petition, bring the thanks. Before you ask for anything, recall what God has already done. Recall his faithfulness. Recall his character. Recall specific moments, specific answers to prayer, specific provisions, and specific deliverances. Why does this matter? Because anxiety narrows your vision. It creates a tunnel focused on the threat. Your brain, when anxious, literally cannot access the parts of itself that hold long-term memory of God's faithfulness. The amygdala, the fear center, hijacks the system, and gratitude is the neurological key that unlocks it. When you give thanks, you are not just being polite. You are forcing your brain to remember. You are pulling your mind out of the threat loop and back into the bigger story. You are saying, this fear is real, but it is not the whole story. God has been faithful before. God will be faithful again. That's not denial. That's perspective. I want you to try this. The next time anxiety hits real anxiety, the kind that grips your chest, don't skip to the petition. Start with 3 specific things you are thankful for. Specific. Not, I'm thankful for my family. That's too vague. I'm thankful that God provided the rent last month when I didn't know how it would come. I'm thankful that he healed my friend. I'm thankful that he has never left me, even in the dark seasons. Specific. The specificity is what unlocks the memory and breaks the loop. Step 4. Let your requests be made known to God. Notice 3 things about this phrase. First, requests, plural. Specific, not vague spiritual generalities, God just bless everyone. No, specific requests. God, I need wisdom for this meeting on Thursday. God, I need the rent by the 15th. God, I need you to heal my mom. Paul is telling you to be specific. Vague prayers keep anxiety vague. Specific prayers turn anxiety into petition. Second, made known. That implies verbal expression. Not just thinking about it, but speaking it out loud if you can. There's something about the act of speaking a request out loud that activates different parts of the brain than just thinking it. Paul, writing 2,000 years ago, didn't know about neuroscience, but he knew the practice. Speak it, make it known. Third, to God, not to yourself, not to your journal, not to social media, to God. The whole trajectory of the anxiety changes when it has a destination. Anxiety without a destination becomes rumination. Anxiety with a destination becomes prayer. Paul is redirecting the trajectory. So step 4 is take the specific anxiety, name it specifically, speak it out loud, and direct it to God. Not as a vague spiritual exercise, as a real petition to a real Father who really hears. That's the protocol. Now look at verse 7. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and minds through Christ Jesus. Here's what I want you to see. Paul doesn't say the peace of God will erase your anxiety. He says it will guard your heart and mind. The word guard is a military term, phoreo. It means to garrison, to stand watch over. The picture is of a sentry standing at the door of your heart and your mind, keeping watch. Notice, the heart and the mind. Not just the emotions, the heart, not just the thoughts, but the mind. Paul is acknowledging that anxiety attacks both. It attacks how you feel and it attacks how you think. And the peace of God, when you've run the 4-step protocol, stands guard over both. But here's the part that has wrecked me in the best way. Peace that surpasses all understanding. Most of us read that as peace that doesn't make sense. But the Greek phrase is richer. It means peace that exceeds what your mind can produce on its own. It's not irrational peace. It's peace that comes from a source beyond your own cognitive capacity. You can't manufacture it. You can't think your way into it. You can only receive it. And you receive it by running the protocol. Here's the implication. If you try to manufacture peace through your own willpower, just stop being anxious, you will fail. Every time. Because that's not the design. The design is, you run the protocol, God supplies the peace. Your job is the protocol, his job is peace. We get those backwards constantly. We try to do his job, manufacture peace, and we neglect our job, run the protocol. When we get them in the right order, peace shows up. Not because we earned it, but because it was always the promise. And then Paul does something brilliant. He doesn't stop at verse 7. He keeps going into verse 8. Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there is any virtue and if there is anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. Here's why this matters. The 4-step protocol in verses 6 and 7 addresses the anxiety in the moment. Verse 8 addresses the soil the anxiety grows in. Paul is saying, in addition to running the protocol when anxiety hits, tend to what you're feeding your mind, because what you meditate on is what your mind becomes. Anxiety is not just a moment, it's a mental environment, and environments are shaped by inputs. If your inputs are doom scrolling, news cycles, comparison, and fear, your mental environment will be anxiety prone. If your inputs are truth, nobility, purity, loveliness, your mental environment becomes anxiety resistant. Not anxiety proof, but resistant. So the full picture is this. Verses 6 and 7 are the rescue. Verse 8 is the prevention. You need both. Run the protocol when anxiety hits. Tend to the soil so anxiety has less to feed on. That's the complete picture of what Paul actually wrote. If you want to dive deeper into how to apply these psychological tools to your daily prayer life, I've put together a complete 30-day guide. You can find the link in the pinned comment below to grab your copy. I want to tell you about a season where this verse saved my faith not as a slogan, but as a protocol. A few years ago, I hit a wall. I'd been wrestling with anxiety for months, the kind that wakes you up at 4 a.m. with a chest full of dread for no identifiable reason. I was a Christian. I was in ministry. I knew Philippians 4 verse 6 by heart, and every time the anxiety hit, I would quote the verse to myself like a mantra, be anxious for nothing. Be anxious for nothing. And then I would feel worse because I was still anxious, and the verse reading the way I'd been taught made my anxiety feel like failure. I remember sitting in my car in a parking lot, unable to drive, unable to pray, just sitting in dread. And I opened my Bible to Philippians 4 not because I had faith, but because I didn't know what else to do. And I read the verse slowly, not as a slogan, as a sentence. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer and supplication, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And for the first time, I saw the but. I saw the pivot. I saw that Paul wasn't commanding me to stop feeling, he was giving me a redirect. He was saying, okay, the anxiety is here. Don't let it pull your mind apart. Turn it into prayer. Start with thanksgiving. Make your requests specific. And the peace will come not from your willpower, but from me. So I ran the protocol right there in the car. I said, God, I'm anxious. I can't make it stop, but thank you for being with me in this parking lot. Thank you for never leaving me. Thank you for the times you've come through before. Here's my specific request. I need enough peace to drive home. I need sleep tonight. I need this dread to lift. I'm asking. I'm making it known. And the peace didn't come instantly. I want to be honest about that, but it came. Over the next 20 minutes, the dread loosened. Not because I had mustered more faith. Not because I had finally quoted the verse correctly. Because I had stopped trying to do God's job, manufacture peace, and I had started doing my job, run the protocol. And he was faithful to his promise. That night changed how I read this verse forever. Not as a command that condemns, as a protocol that delivers. And I want that for you. If you've been condemned by Philippians 4 verse 6, I want you to hear this. The verse was never meant to condemn you. It was meant to deliver you. The condemnation came from how it was taught. The deliverance comes from how it was written. So here's what I want you to do, starting tomorrow morning. 5 minutes. That's it. Step 1. When you wake up, before your phone, before the news, before anything, name the anxiety. Don't suppress it. Don't condemn yourself for it. Just name it. I'm feeling anxious about today. I'm feeling dread about that meeting. I'm feeling fear about that diagnosis. Name it. The naming breaks the silence. and the silence is where anxiety grows. Step 2, turn it into petition, out loud. God, I'm bringing you this specific anxiety. I need wisdom for this. I need peace about that. Or I need provision here, specific, spoken, direct. Step 3, 3 thanksgivings, specific. Thank you for coming through last month. Thank you for healing my friend. Thank you for never leaving me. Force your brain to remember. Break the tunnel vision. Yes. Step 4, make your requests known, specific, bold. God, I need the rent by the 15th. I need the conversation to go well. I need the dread to lift. Don't be vague. Don't be polite. Be specific. Step 5, meditate on what is true. Pick one verse. 1. Philippians 4 verse 8 itself, or Psalm 23, or 2 Timothy 1 verse 7. Read it, speak it, let it land. 5 minutes total, that's the protocol. Run it for 7 days, not because you have to earn the peace, but because the peace was always the promise, and the protocol is how you receive it. At the end of 7 days, look back. I think you'll find, like I did, like so many have, that the verse you thought was condemning you was actually delivering you. You just had to read it the way Paul wrote it. If this video changed how you see Philippians 4 verse 6, if the condemnation lifted, even a little, I want you to do 3 things. First, comment on the word protocol below. I'm going to be reading every single comment, and I'm going to be praying for each one of you by name over the next 7 days. Specifically, I'm praying that you experience the peace of verse 7, the kind that guards your heart and mind as you run the protocol. Second, subscribe to the channel. This is what we do. We take the verses you've been taught to feel condemned by, and we show you what they actually say. Biblical truth meets the science of the human mind. New videos every week. Hit subscribe so you don't miss them. Third, and this is the most important one, share this video with one person who has been condemned by Philippians 4 verse 6. You know who they are. Maybe it's a friend with anxiety. Maybe it's a family member who's been told to just have more faith. Maybe it's a pastor who needs to know how his teaching has been landing. Send them this link. The verse was meant to deliver them, not condemn them. Let's set it free. Next week, we're going even deeper into the question, why can't you just pray away trauma? And what the Bible actually says about healing that most churches get wrong. That video drops Monday. Subscribe so you don't miss it. Until then, run the protocol, receive peace. And don't forget, the verse was never meant to condemn you. It was meant to deliver you. I'll see you in the next one.